Now, before we close this goat rodeo out, I have to respond to something that's been kind of kicking around in the corner here, where Martin Archer. Yeah, let me see. Jordan Peterson has moved the cultural needle debating the left. Well, Martin, this may come as quite a shock to you, but Jordan Peterson and his recent tour of Europe with Dave Rubin is a multi-$100,000 tour, and Jordan Peterson's purpose is to go. Jordan Peterson became discovered by entering debates in college campuses with actual left-wingers. Now, you're saying that I'm afraid to debate actual left-wingers. I don't have the budget to go out there and do that, and I'm not going to go to a university, not because I'm afraid of university students, but I'm not going to go to a university because they don't listen. They simply make noise and chant like 4-year-olds. Now, however, Martin, just so you know, if you want to produce an actual liberal, if you're one of them, I would love to have you come on Skype, and we will have this thing absolutely raw footage, not going to do any editing. You produce somebody who wants to come onto the show, or I will make a show for them. But it's not my job to go out there and seek individuals and tear apart individuals in front of an audience. My job is to go ahead and let the actual arguments speak for themselves. I destroy liberals by the thousands because I'm not dealing with them one-on-one. I'm handing out ammunition to people who know how to use it. So if you think I'm afraid of debating these people, which is essentially, it's not essentially what you said, that's exactly what you said. I say bring it on. I say if you've got it, you say I'm no damn liberal, well, then find me one, Martin, because if this is your problem, if you actually think that the problem is I'm afraid to debate these people, then I can solve this for you. I can solve this for you. Find me somebody, and I'll do it. Be happy to do it. I would love it. It'd be fun. You can pick anybody you want. In fact, you find somebody, and I will make the contact information, and I'll do my very best to see if they want to come on the show. We'll do an after hours one-on-one, and we'll just have essentially a simple set of rules, and off we go. Because if you think that that's hard and that it intimidates me, you're actually really quite wrong about this. It's much harder to do this into the air, so to speak, because not only do I have to get it right, but when I'm dealing with an actual human being, they get to make mistakes and they get to say stupid things that I get to jump on. I don't have that option when I'm dealing with this against the concept. The perfect example of this was when I was down in Irvine at a TPUSA event, and they invited a Democrat lawmaker to come down there. Apparently, I wasn't afraid to debate her. I just didn't realize the terrible risk I was taking. But to give you an example of how much easier it is to debate an actual person as opposed to debate and defend the idea against pre-prepared rational rebuttals, this woman who I was debating said, she said a number of things, but one of the things she said was, well, I disagree with the conservatives. I mean, if it weren't for liberals, we wouldn't. If it wasn't for the government, who would build the roads? And I turned to her and I said, ma'am, the government doesn't build any roads. The government takes my money and then they pay a private company to build the road, and they don't particularly care how much of my money they spend because it's not their money. And she's gobsmacked, What do you say to that? Nothing. And that is a huge win. It's an enormous win. So there you go. It's not just a question of that. And it's not just a question of the budget either. It's a question of, I have heard Jordan Peterson debate people, and I've heard Jordan Peterson shoot people down. And yes, it's true, Jordan Peterson is moving the needle, and Jordan Peterson deserves all the credit he's getting. I think he's terrific. But I have not heard Jordan Peterson put together a philosophy in a way that makes coherent sense across the board over the course of years. In other words, I've heard him shoot down people on individual topics, and I find that actually rather easy. What's hard, to me anyway, is the ability to take all of these smart-ass answers and assemble it into something that makes sense. Something that makes sense. So I can make a comment of this and this, and then some other idiot can say something. And another great example, when I was debating these kids in what was it, Future Leaders of America, so it's really kind of a left wing thing. It was another one of those debates I was afraid to go to, and this kid stood up and said. She wasn't asking a question. She was making her virtue statement, and she was basically heard everything I said, and was basically had a prepared statement in order for her to get applause. And the prepared statement worked like this. I think I talked about this 2 episodes ago or something. I'll talk about it again. I was saying that the beauty of capitalism is that it rewards effort proportionately, and I said that it's not fair that a brain surgeon should get paid the same amount of money as a guy who smokes doobies out in back of the 7-Eleven. And I made a pretty compelling point. And then this person stood up, you could just tell while I was talking she was writing this thing. And she stood up and she said, well, what if the person who's working at 7-Eleven would have been an excellent brain surgeon, but couldn't be because they happen to be a person of color? Huge applause, huge. And I just sat there and I said, no, get it out of your system. I'll wait till you're done. This is easy. And then I said, as it turns out, the most brilliant brain surgeon in the world is a guy named, man, I'm really losing my memory, and sometimes I really am. Ben Carson. As it turns out, the top brain surgeon in the world is an American named Ben Carson. And Ben Carson is a black man who grew up dirt poor and as disadvantaged as anybody you could, certainly more disadvantaged than you or anybody you've ever met. And Ben Carson's mother put into his head the idea that he could not only do anything, he could do anything if he was ready to work hard enough at it. And so Ben Carson, this black kid from the South who grew up in the middle of Jim Crow racism, is now the best brain surgeon on the planet. So your theory is wrong. And then the conservatives in the crowd lost their mind and roared and cheered and stuff. So Jordan Peterson does what Jordan Peterson does. Ben Shapiro does what Ben Shapiro does. Glenn Beck does what Glenn Beck does, and everybody does what they do. I think we're all pretty well cross-trained. I know I could. I not only know I could, I have in fact stood in front of audiences of left-wing children at universities 4 or 5 times and watched it year after year get worse and worse and worse. Went from just open disrespect and hissing and so on to simple shouting and yelling while you're trying to speak. And if that's the world you want, you can have it. And if the university is not going to remove that person from the audience, then I'll remove myself from that university. I don't need to be there, and I don't need that platform to reach people. But we're all pretty cross-trained, and debating actual liberals is not something I'm particularly afraid of. It's just I can't find anybody who's willing to do it. And I think that poor woman who went down there she was like a city council member in Irvine or something. I actually felt bad about that afterwards. I thought this poor woman had no idea what she was getting into. So I take this afraid of debating people pretty seriously if you really want to know. So there's a standing offer for you. And that's not what I do, but I've done it, and I can do it. And I have a number of videos online with me doing question and answers in hostile audiences. So if that's what you think I should be doing, then I'm sorry to disappoint you. But this idea that I'm afraid of them is just ridiculous. Ridiculous. And by the way, the thing that, when I was talking about praising Scott and talking about what a great job he's doing with Bill Whittle now, is that Scott Ott is making sure that nothing I say is a straw man argument or a fake argument. He challenges all of my assumptions, and so I don't know what else to say. I really don't. But if you know somebody who wants to come into the ring, I'd be happy to do it. We'll do the whole thing without editing. There won't be any kind of we're going to selectively thing. We'll put the whole thing out there. We'll do it one-on-one and great. I find it kind of boring, to be honest with you, because I've done enough of this to be amazed at how easy it is to shut these people up. And if you're telling me that this is what I should be spending doing my time, is shooting fish in a bucket with a shotgun, I don't find that particularly valuable use of my time. I don't. And there you go. All right, so we're a little bit past the no more questions tonight. Sorry, I'm already half an hour late. So that'll do it for this edition of the Stratosphere Lounge, brought to you by the paying members of BillWhittle.com, of who they are. Wonderful. Can we get an upload of last week's show? I thought I did upload last week's show. I thought I uploaded it last week. I'll check it. I thought it was there. YouTube's getting a little dicey. I put it up. There's no question I uploaded it last week. But in any event, that's what I'll do. All right. So thanks very much for joining us. It's great to see you here, and great to see everybody. And honey, I love you very much, and I will see you soon. And that was for only one person. So if your name is not Natasha and you took that message personally, you've made a serious misunderstanding, and for that I apologize. Okay, so it's time to stop the recording now. We'll see you next time.